"You're worthless trash and my son deserves better than you," Vincent announced, his voice cutting through the dining room like a slap. I froze at the mahogany table, my fork suspended midair as all 23 family members stared at me in stunned silence. The chandelier above threw sharp shadows across Vincent's aged features, making his disdain look even harsher. "You're absolutely right, sir," I replied softly, lowering my fork with careful precision. My voice stayed steady, even though my heart was pounding against my ribs. I folded my napkin, set it beside my untouched roast beef, and rose calmly. "Excuse me." The silence tightened like a pulled wire while I reached for my purse on the side table. Vincent's wife, Patricia, looked horrified. My husband Isaac's face had drained of color, and his sisters kept their eyes glued to their plates, examining the china pattern as if it held answers. Even the youngest cousin had stopped talking, sensing the poison that had seeped into what was meant to be Vincent's 65th birthday celebration. "Ruth, wait," Isaac called out. But I was already heading toward the front door of the grand Victorian house Vincent had bought 15 years ago, the same house I had quietly helped finance through my investment company. Though he had no idea, the anonymous investor supporting his real estate ventures was sitting right at his dining table. Stepping into the crisp October air in Portland, Oregon, I pulled out my phone and scrolled until I reached my attorney's number. The irony wasn't lost on me. Vincent had spent the evening bragging nonstop about his new development project, the $15 million mixed-use complex set to break ground next Monday. He didn't realize the worthless trash he had insulted was the primary investor fueling his ambitions. "Hello, Patricia," I said when my lawyer answered. "It's Ruth. I need you to prepare the withdrawal notices for the Morrison development project. All funding, all partnerships, everything. Send them first thing tomorrow morning." I paused, watching through the dining room window as Vincent gestured angrily, probably justifying why I deserved his public degradation. "Are you sure, Ruth? That's a significant investment to pull," Patricia cautioned. I smiled coldly as I slid into my Tesla. "I've never been more certain. Vincent Morrison just called me worthless trash in front of his entire family. It's time he sees exactly what this trash is worth." The rush of satisfaction that swept through me felt sharp and intoxicating. Tomorrow was going to be very interesting. My name is Ruth Peterson, and I'm 32 years old. 3 years ago, I married Isaac Morrison, believing I was joining a loving family. Instead, I discovered that Vincent Morrison, my father-in-law and head of Morrison Development, was one of the most arrogant men I had ever met. He owned several commercial buildings across Portland and liked to call himself a real estate mogul, though his projects had been failing until an anonymous investor started backing him 18 months ago. What Vincent didn't know was that his mysterious savior was Crystalia Holdings, the investment firm I had built from scratch after finishing business school. I specialized in commercial real estate strategies, and my company managed over $50 million in assets. When Isaac and I began dating, I kept my business life entirely separate from our relationship. Isaac knew I worked in finance, but he assumed I was just another analyst at some corporate office. The irony was delicious. Vincent constantly lectured me about finding real work and contributing something meaningful to society. He had no idea his daughter-in-law's company had been quietly buying distressed properties all over the Pacific Northwest, renovating them, and selling them for major profits. Even more, he didn't know that 2 years ago, when his own development firm was drowning financially, Crystalia Holdings had stepped in anonymously to save him. Vincent's newest obsession was the Crown Plaza development, a mixed-use project with luxury condos, retail spaces, and office buildings in downtown Portland. The project demanded enormous capital, complicated permits, and cooperation from multiple contractors and city officials. For a year, he had boasted to anyone who would listen about securing a mysterious investor who believed in his vision. That investor was me. Through my company, I had provided $2.3 million, used my city planning connections to secure permits, and arranged partnerships with 3 major construction firms that regularly worked with Crystalia Holdings. Vincent believed his charisma and business genius had attracted the investor. In reality, I had analyzed his projects, recognized their potential, and decided they were profitable additions to my portfolio. Isaac had no knowledge of my involvement in his father's company. I knew Vincent would never accept help from his daughter-in-law, especially not from someone he considered beneath his family's status. So I played the role of a quiet housewife while secretly managing millions in investments from my home office. The arrangement had been flawless, until last night. Vincent's big project was scheduled to break ground Monday, and he had gathered the whole family to celebrate. He had even prepared a speech praising his mysterious investor, unaware she was sitting right across from him, enduring his insults and snide comments about women who didn't understand business. Now driving through Portland's quiet streets, a fierce satisfaction burned in my chest. Vincent was about to learn a very expensive lesson in respect. The next morning arrived gray and drizzling, typical Oregon weather that suited my mood perfectly. I was in my home office by 7 a.m., coffee in hand, reviewing the financial documents that would dismantle Vincent's world. Patricia had worked fast. The withdrawal notices were complete and waiting. I only needed to give final approval. My phone buzzed with a message from Isaac. "I'm so sorry about last night. Dad was completely wrong. Can we talk?" I stared at the message for a long moment. Isaac was a good man, torn between family loyalty and love for his wife. He truly didn't know about my business ties to his father, and I had planned to keep it that way. But Vincent's cruelty had shifted everything. Some lines can't be uncrossed once crossed. "I'm fine," I replied. "At work early. Talk tonight." Work. If Isaac knew that my work was about to destroy his father's real estate empire. I opened my laptop and pulled up the Morrison development file. The numbers were brutal. Vincent's company was drowning in debt for the Crown Plaza project. Without Castalia's support, he wouldn't just lose the development. He'd go bankrupt. All of his other properties were tied up as collateral for loans, assuming Crown Plaza would pay them off. I thought of Vincent's face last night. The contempt when he called me worthless trash. The family watching in stiff silence as he humiliated me. The months he spent boasting about his brilliance while secretly relying on my money. At 9:30 I called Patricia. "Send the notices," I said plainly. "All of them. Every single one. I want Vincent Morrison to receive 3 messages at exactly 10 a.m. First, his attorney should get the investment withdrawal notice. Second, Isaac needs a text revealing that I'm the investor his father has been praising for months. And third, Vincent gets a message from me that simply says, "Don't mess with trash." "Ruth, this will completely destroy his business. Are you absolutely sure?" I stared out my office window at the city skyline, remembering all the late nights I had spent reviewing Vincent's projects, the detailed research I had done to ensure my investment strengthened both his company and my own portfolio, and the respect I never received despite single-handedly keeping his business alive. "Patricia, last night Vincent stood before his entire family explaining why his son deserved someone better than me. I think it's time he understands exactly what he's losing." I paused, feeling the weight of my decision settle around me like armor. "Send the messages at exactly 10 a.m. Let's see how valuable trash really is." At precisely 10 a.m., I sat in my office chair watching the clock on my computer tick over to the appointed time. My phone stayed silent, but I knew that somewhere across Portland, Vincent's world was beginning to fall apart. I pictured him in his office, likely reviewing construction timelines and congratulating himself on his brilliant business strategy, completely unaware that 3 devastating messages were hitting different inboxes at that exact moment. My phone stayed quiet for exactly 7 minutes. Then Isaac called. "Ruth." His voice was breathless, almost frantic. "I just got the most unbelievable text. Says you're the anonymous investor Dad's been working with. That can't be real. That's impossible." I leaned back in my leather chair, calm and steady. "Why is it impossible, Isaac?" "Because that investor put more than $2 million into Dad's projects. You work for some finance company. You can't possibly have access to that much money." He stopped, and I could hear traffic in the background. "Ruth, please tell me this is some kind of mistake." "It's not a mistake," I said gently but firmly. "Isaac, I own Crystalia Holdings. I've run my own investment company for 5 years. Your father's development projects have been part of my portfolio for the past 18 months. The silence dragged on so long I thought the call had dropped. Then Isaac whispered, "You've been supporting Dad's business this whole time." "Financially, yes. I saw potential in his developments and considered them solid investments. Your father never knew because I kept everything anonymous through my company. I thought that would make things easier. Jesus Christ, Ruth. Dad spent the whole night bragging about his mysterious investor. He kept saying, "This person has vision and understands quality development." Isaac's voice trembled. He was talking about you. The entire time he was praising you without realizing it. I stood and walked to my window looking out at the Portland skyline. That's the irony, isn't it? Vincent spent months celebrating the brilliance of his investor, while treating his investor's wife like garbage at every family dinner. Ruth, what did you do? That text mentioned withdrawal notices. My phone buzzed with another call. Vincent's name flashed across the screen. Isaac, your father is calling me. I think the truth just hit him. Don't answer. Please, let's talk first. But I was already declining Vincent's call and opening my laptop to check my email. Sure enough, there was a frantic message from Vincent's lawyer, followed by 2 more from Vincent himself, each one more desperate than the last. Isaac, your father is about to learn a very expensive lesson about respect. The Crown Plaza project is done. Without my funding, he can't meet his loan payments. His other properties will be foreclosed on within 60 days. I paused, letting the reality sink in. The trash he humiliated last night was the only thing preventing his business empire from collapsing. Ruth, he's my father. Can't you? Can't I what? I snapped softly. Continue bankrolling a man who called me worthless trash in front of your entire family? Keep supporting someone who takes credit for success built on my money, while treating me like I'm beneath him. My tone hardened. Isaac, I love you. But I will not be insulted and degraded by someone whose entire livelihood depends on my investments. My phone buzzed again. Vincent had sent a text. We need to talk immediately. There's been a misunderstanding. I held the phone up to Isaac during our video call. There's no misunderstanding, Isaac. Your father made his opinion of me very clear. Now I'm making mine clear to him. 20 minutes later, my office door burst open without a knock. Vincent stood there, face flushed, hair disheveled, panic radiating off him. Behind him, looking mortified, stood Isaac. I tried to stop him, Isaac muttered helplessly. Vincent stormed toward my desk, eyes wild with fury and fear. This is impossible. You can't be Crystalia Holdings. That's a major investment firm. I gestured to the chair across from my desk. Please sit down, Vincent. Or would you prefer I call you Mr. Morrison, since we're apparently handling business now? He stayed standing, gripping the chair so tightly his knuckles turned white. Ruth, there has to be some explanation. You're a housewife. You don't have millions of dollars. I opened my laptop and turned it toward him, showing the Crystalia Holdings website with my photo and biography displayed front and center. Vincent, meet Ruth Peterson, Chief Executive Officer and founder of Crystalia Holdings. I've been managing investment portfolios worth over $50 million since I graduated from Wharton Business School, with an MBA in corporate finance. His face shifted through several shades of pale as he stared at the screen. This can't be real. Oh, it's very real. Would you like to see the investment records? I can show you exactly where your company would be without my funding. I clicked through spreadsheets and financial projections. Your company was losing money on every project until Crystalia stepped in. We provided the capital, the permits, the contractor networks, and the city planning connections that made your recent success possible. Vincent collapsed into the chair, his arrogance finally starting to fracture. But you never said anything. At family dinners, you just sat there. I sat there and listened to you lecture me about finding real work. I sat there while you told me I needed to contribute something meaningful to society. I sat there while you bragged about your business genius and your mysterious investor who had such great vision. I leaned forward. Vincent, I was sitting there funding your entire lifestyle while you called me worthless. Isaac, who had been quietly standing near the door in shock, finally spoke. Dad, Ruth has been supporting your business for over a year. Every success you've bragged about, every project you've shown off, it all happened because of her money. Vincent looked between us, his face twisted with confusion and dawning horror. The Crown Plaza project is dead, I said simply. That's a major investment firm. I gestured to the chair across from my desk. Please sit down, Vincent. Or would you prefer I call you Mr. Morrison, since we're apparently handling business now. He stayed standing, gripping the chair so tightly his knuckles turned white. Ruth, there has to be some explanation. You're a housewife. You don't have millions of dollars. I opened my laptop and turned it toward him, showing the Crystalia Holdings website with my photo and biography displayed front and center. Vincent, meet Ruth Peterson, Chief Executive Officer and founder of Crystalia Holdings. I've been managing investment portfolios worth over $50 million since I graduated from Wharton Business School, with an MBA in corporate finance. His face shifted through several shades of pale as he stared at the screen. This can't be real. Oh, it's very real. Would you like to see the investment records? I can show you exactly where your company would be without my funding. I clicked through spreadsheets and financial projections. Your company was losing money on every project until Crystalia stepped in. We provided the capital, the permits, the contractor networks, and the city planning connections that made your recent success possible. Vincent collapsed into the chair, his arrogance finally starting to fracture. But you never said anything. At family dinners, you just sat there. I sat there and listened to you lecture me about finding real work. I sat there while you told me I needed to contribute something meaningful to society. I sat there while you bragged about your business genius and your mysterious investor who had such great vision. I leaned forward. Vincent, I was sitting there funding your entire lifestyle while you called me worthless. Isaac, who had been quietly standing near the door in shock, finally spoke. Dad, Ruth has been supporting your business for over a year. Every success you've bragged about, every project you've shown off. It all happened because of her money. Vincent looked between us, his face twisted with confusion and dawning horror. The Crown Plaza project is dead, I said simply. I walked toward the door but paused, turning back to face Vincent. Before I go, you should know something, I said calmly. Pulling out of Morrison Development frees up a significant amount of investment capital. I already have meetings scheduled next week with 3 different development companies. Portland's commercial real estate market is growing fast, and there are plenty of developers who understand the importance of respecting their investors. Vincent's phone began buzzing again the second I stepped into the hallway, Isaac following silently behind me. 2 weeks later, I sat in my favorite downtown coffee shop with the Portland Business Journal spread open in front of me. The headline took up nearly half the page. Local developer files for bankruptcy after mystery investor withdraws support. The article detailed the dramatic downfall of Morrison Development, explaining how Vincent's company had gone from Portland's rising star to a complete financial disaster in just 14 days. Isaac slid into the seat across from me, looking tired and worn. It's official, he sighed. Dad filed for bankruptcy this morning. He's lost everything. The office building, the rental properties, even the house. How is he handling it? I asked. Not well. He keeps insisting this is some mistake. He genuinely thinks you'll come back once you've finished making your point. Isaac shook his head in disbelief. Yesterday he asked me to convince you to meet him for coffee, so he could explain why the family needs you to reconsider. I nearly choked on my latte. He wants to explain why the family needs me. After calling me worthless trash in front of 23 people, Isaac's expression darkened. I don't even think he understands what he did. In his mind, you weren't really the investor. You were just Isaac's wife, who happened to own the company investing in him. He still can't wrap his head around the fact that you personally made every financial decision. I looked out the window at the construction site where the Crown Plaza project should have broken ground by now. Instead, it was just an empty lot with a development postponed sign swaying in the wind. 3 developers had already reached out to me with offers for similar projects. Vincent's downfall had become the opening of new opportunities. Isaac, your father called me worthless trash in front of the entire family, then expected me to put my feelings aside and continue funding his dreams because the family needed me. Does that sound like respect? Or does it sound like someone who only values access to my money? He didn't respond at first. After a long moment, he sighed. The family understands now, he said quietly. Patricia called yesterday. She apologized. She said she had no idea you were the investor Dad kept bragging about. I gave a small, humorless smile. Vincent is going to have plenty of time to think about what respect actually means. The social fallout hit him just as hard as the financial collapse. The story of what he had done spread quickly through Portland's business community. Investors and developers whispered about the man who had publicly insulted and humiliated the very person keeping his business afloat. It became a cautionary tale told at networking events about why treating people with basic respect is both ethically right and strategically smart. Potential partners quietly withdrew from future deals. No one wanted to work with someone who demonstrated such astonishingly poor judgment. The fact that he had called his own daughter-in-law worthless trash while she was secretly financing his entire company made him look both cruel and incompetent. Vincent tried to rebuild, but every meeting began the same way, with awkward questions about the Castelia Holdings situation. People wanted to know how he had failed to recognize his largest investor, and whether he could maintain a professional relationship with anyone. His reputation suffered more damage than his wallet ever could. 6 months after that infamous dinner, Isaac and I attended a cousin's wedding, one of the few family events where Vincent was noticeably absent. Patricia approached me during the reception with a sincerity I hadn't seen from her before. "Ruth," she said softly, "I want you to know how truly sorry I am for what happened that night. Vincent was completely wrong and the whole family sees it now. We also understand how generous you were to support his business for as long as you did." I accepted her apology politely. But deep down, I knew the relationships within that family would never return to what they had been. Vincent had shown everyone who he truly was, and his attempts to win me back had been rooted in financial desperation, not genuine remorse. The consequences of that night followed Vincent for the rest of his life. His business was gone. His reputation destroyed. His marriage shattered under the financial stress and humiliation. His relationship with his children fractured after they learned he had been living off money from the daughter-in-law he had insulted so viciously. Every attempt to start fresh ended in failure. Potential partners questioned his character, and lenders refused to support him. Eventually, he was reduced to working in junior roles for developers he once considered rivals. His arrogance evaporated, replaced by a quiet bitterness that pushed people even further away. Meanwhile, I continued to grow my company. As I signed the contract for my newest acquisition, a downtown office complex that would host 3 expanding tech firms, I thought back to the moment everything shifted. Vincent believed he had thrown away trash. But the trash he dismissed ended up being worth more than his entire empire. And the revenge? It had been effortless. Not because I had planned it, but because I finally stopped supporting someone who interpreted generosity as weakness. Once I walked away, the truth revealed itself. Sometimes the most powerful response is simply letting people discover what they so carelessly threw away.